Hi, Dawn Lewis here, and it's day 2 of our Blah Bunny 5 Ways in 5 Days, featuring Blah 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 and Blah Bunny by Honeybee Stamps. And if you're looking for Honeybee in Australia, you can find it at dawnlewis.com.au. This card is going to heavily feature Blah 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 with just a teensy touch of the Blah Bunny set. I'm stamping with archival jet black ink using my Misty stamping tool. I have a white card base, some black cardstock, red paper, white Express-It blending card, pattern paper, rickrack. I'm using a tiny little Polaroid die, some double-sided tape. I'm using a stapler today. I'm using my scissors, and I have this cool red scratchy sticker. I'll also be using my old school corner rounding punch. So let's start with the card base. I'm going to take the corner rounder and round out both front and back on the right hand side. This is just going to be repeated here on the black cardstock as well, so you can see when I put them together they match up, which is really cool. I'm going to use some leftover leftover pattern paper from another project, and I'm just using the black section as a guide to show me where to put the double-sided tape. I'm going to make 2 cards from this particular piece, so it's not going to go to waste, and you'll get to see that other card at the end. I don't usually advocate cutting with scissors, but sometimes it just is necessary. So on the red pattern paper, I'm putting some 6mm double-sided tape so that it overhangs the edge on the right hand side, and I'm going to take a small piece of white cardstock and just butt that up against it so that they are flush and one is not over the other. I'm using my trimmer here and trimming it down, rounding the corners again. And now let's pay attention to this Polaroid die. It's going to fit here on this smaller panel, but what I want to pay attention to mostly is this tiny square from the center. I'm using the party hat from Blah Bunny. Now in hindsight, I didn't plan on coloring this, so I should have stamped a Memento Tuxedo black ink, but as I'm coloring with fairly dark colors and I was really careful, it didn't seem to do any damage to my Copic markers, but I wouldn't really recommend using your Copics with archival jet black ink. So the sticker I'm using is going to go over the top of this little coloured in party hat, and because it's round and my piece is square, I've just coloured the corners so that it is less obvious that my sticker doesn't actually cover the whole thing, and when the card is finished you actually can hardly tell. I'm applying double-sided tape to the back of this Polaroid die cut. This is going to serve 2 purposes. It will stick it to the project when I'm done, but it also is going to hold in that stamped and scratchy sticker applied piece. So I'm die cut inlaying, and I can tell which way up because I can see the colouring and the stamping through the back of my blending card. Yes, this die cut was cut from blending card because why not? So I'm using a little Tombow mono adhesive to add this mini rickrack, and I'm just going to pop it over the top of the seam here. Now you'll notice that it is a little longer, and I'm going to go back to my scrapbooking roots and do something old school. Yep, decorative staples. I actually have coloured staples somewhere, couldn't find them. Now the entire panel is going to go in the centre of the card base, and then it is going to be time for us to add our Polaroid and do our sentiment. So the Polaroid, because I've already got the adhesive on the back, which I used for having the the die cut inlay happening, it just sticks straight on. So I've chosen out a few sentiments from Blah Blah Blah, and I'm just stamping them on matching white cardstock. So all of this white cardstock is the same because there are a billion shades of white. I only want the word birthday from this, and so I masked it off with a Post-it note while I inked it up, and now it's good to go. So you can actually just stamp one word from a multi-word sentiment without cutting it in half. I'm also using the hashtag. Look, I don't know how long hashtags are going to be around, but I really love them, so I'm really happy to have a hashtag in my set. And I'm trimming down the hashtag birthday sentiment on the white cardstock, and I'm going to apply it onto some black cardstock. This is just left over from another project. I keep all my black scraps because, you know, if it's big enough to matte a sentiment like this, then I'm going to get use out of it. I'm popping it up on some foam tape, and I played around with placement, and now I'm using some teeny tiny stamps. I considered handwriting the word scratch, but my handwriting's really not that great, and so I've gone with these funky little stamps and drawn an arrow pointing to the panel that needs to be scratched. So here's a close-up look at the scratchy stickers. They're glossy on the back because they've got this clear plasticky back with the adhesive on, and then they have the scratchy stuff on the top. So you pop it over the top of whatever you want, and then you could use scissors, or I'm using a bone folder. You can use nails or a coin, just like a scratchie from the newsagents, and you can scratch away the panel on the front. You can see the shine there. So the plastic is creating a barrier between the scratchy stuff and your sentiment or your picture or whatever underneath. So here is the card you saw me make on the left with my alternative card on the right. I've used a flower instead of the scratchy, different sentiments. I do hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you'll join me tomorrow as well for day 3. Thank you so much for watching, and a special thanks if you subscribe. I really appreciate it. You can find a link below to all of the stuff that I've used on my blog. I hope that you have a very crafty day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.